Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, with day 27 of our 31 perfect albums. As you know, with the premise of this series, we have picked 31 albums that we believe in our heart of hearts are perfect, top to bottom, track one to track infinity, whatever it is. Box sets, no, are not included in this series. Sorry, Bill. But again, these are just our opinions of albums that we believe are truly perfection, top to bottom. And again, before I kick into the episode and introduce my wonderful panel here, we would like to get everybody involved and interactive with this series. It has been an immense joy to bring this to you, and I can't say that enough. That's been my experience. Although I bet you if you ask my illustrious crew here, they'd probably give you a different bit of feedback. You never know. But anyways, I digress. I will introduce everyone on the panel. We have Mr. Jim Bricker. How's it going, Jim?
I'm doing fine. I don't know if I'm here for the immense joy or the large pleasure. Trying to figure it out.
Well, we'll get back to you on that one.
All right.
We are also joined by Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
Doing great, Armando, and yeah, I'll pretty well echo what you said. It has been a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to having the final list. I mean, there is some crossover. There are some albums that we've had multiple people pick among us, but for the most part, though, this is going to be a fairly eclectic, wonderful mess by the end. So,
Yeah. No, I'll get to your point. I wanted to make a point, but I'll get to that in a sec. We are also joined by the one and only Ken Cheshire. How's it going, Ken?
Going very well. I echo the two gentlemen's comments. And again, the rest of mine are going to be very different. But honestly, I love the diversity we've had in our choices these first 26 days. It's amazing. Very little crossover. But then even when we do have crossover there, it's worth it. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is a blast.
Yeah, I mean, there's been crossover, but to Bill's point, I mean, it's not like we've picked the same album on like for one episode. It hasn't been like, oh, you've picked that one. That's my number there too. It's like, no. Um, there's been crossover throughout the episodes, and it's bound to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I will keep the tradition going and pass the virtual mic as I see on my screen down to Mr. Jim Bricker, and he'll give us his pick for day 27.
All right. Happy to do that. So this band has appeared on our perfect albums list with their first and second albums. My pick is their third from 1986, and it is the logical evolution of where you started with The Party's Over, getting into It's My Life, and the next sonic step to me is the masterpiece of Talk Talk called The Color of Spring. Um,
Yeah.
1986, this is their third album of what would be five. And for the first time I heard this, I was just stunned because even just from like the first track, I have never heard such an exquisite marriage of organic sounds and I'll call them processed. So just the snare and the acoustic bass that you get with the very lead off song Happiness is Easy, and then just the synths and the electric guitars that happen just in this song and throughout the album. um it's it's just phenomenal. There's and not only is there a sonic richness to this album, but there's a lyrical richness as well that's very deep, very affirming. Um, the whole album to me grows warmer and more intimate every time I listen to it. And for an album from 1986, which is like, peak Linn drums and synth this and, overproduce that. It's pretty amazing that something stands out as like organic and whole and just rich and warm. Um, there were a couple of hits from this album, Life's What You Make It and Give It Up. To judge this album just by those tunes, and they're fine tunes, it's just does the whole thing a disservice because the textures are richer in the entire album, the meaning deeper, and just the way that the songs hit, it just comes a lot harder than just what you get on the single. I played this album for a buddy of mine who's a huge music fan and audiophile, but for some reason he never had gone beyond the singles and he hadn't heard this album. So I said, "All right, after you've played your awesome stuff for me, let me share this with you." And he's not, being an audiophile, he's not easily impressed, but he was sitting there listening, going, "Wow." I mean, it really took him by surprise, just the depth and originality of arrangements and just the way the record sounds overall. Now, there's a lot of people out there who would pick their subsequent album to this as kind of their masterpiece and their sort of a standout of their catalog. But no, for me, I I hold very, very strongly that The Color of Spring is the talk masterpiece, and it's just sheer utter perfection and joy from the very first percussive break to the choral fades at the end.
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that another one that you're not familiar with, Armando?
No, I know Life's What You Make It. I like Life's What You Make It, but again, it's an album that I only know the singles from. And even from, and then I'll shut up for a bit. Even from the opening piano chords of
Mhm.
the drums of Life's What You Make It, I could tell this was not It's My Life.
Yeah,
This was a band that had gone way beyond that, you know.
right.
And even the album after that came after that, where EMI was saying, we need hits, and they're like, no. It's like, to quote Amy Winehouse, no, no, no. This is not what you're gonna get, right? Um, but yeah, no, fantastic choice. Fantastic choice. Um, I just had another show idea. Anyways, moving on.
Artists who say no.
Well, yes, no, no, no. Moving on. No, great choice. Great choice. Okay, Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's definitely a headphone and dark room album for sure.
Yes, yes.
All right, I'm going with an album from 2005 now. This is the third or fourth album for this band, depending on how you count. One of them was kind of an odds and sods album, so it wasn't really an official. But either way, they're all good. This is where it all came together for them, I think. This is a 7-person lineup here. We have two brothers, Tom and John Galgano, on keys and bass guitar and lead vocals. Amory Burns and Laura Mead, both on lead vocals. Greg Dimicelli and Brian Corellian, both on drums, and Paul Brimner on lead guitar. The band is, and the album is My River Flows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is as with the previous Magenta album I mentioned, probably one of my top 5 albums of the 21st century. I adore every part of this album. It's the reason it's my favorite album is because of its eclecticism. They cover a wide territory, but every song sounds like is. It doesn't sound like they're trying to be anyone other than who they are. They're not trying on hats. They're just showing different aspects of themselves as artists. So it's a natural kind of thing. And they have everything from the sweet, touching song Abby's Song, which is strictly John Galgano on acoustic guitar and vocals, and Paul on electric guitar. And it's brought me to tears so many times I can't tell you. It's just, I don't remember which one of the drummers in his Gregor Bryan I had an interaction with years ago. Said he was a music teacher, and he actually had his class sing this song, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And just, I think of my daughter. My daughter was about 3 when this came out, 3 or 4 in between, and now I have 2 young granddaughters, and I think the same. It's just very simple lyrics. Smile for me, laugh out loud for me, take my hand, we'll cross the street. Just nothing too deep, but just the kind of image anyone who's ever had a young child like that, when you hear it going along with the music, it can be very emotional. And it always puts a smile on my face. It's a happy tear kind of thing. So I still think of my daughter in particular when I hear this song. But then the opposite end of the spectrum, they have the song Deafening Silence, which is roughly 24 minutes long, which is a progressive rock epic with gorgeous vocals from everyone. I mean, we have 4 lead vocalists in this band, but particularly Anne Marie and Laura on this song. Lots of instrumental bits from Tom on the keyboards in here. This is very dramatic. The album opens with basically a rocker called My River Flows, the title track. It goes into Late Night Salvation, which is a 12-minute track with a drum solo, a dual drum solo in the middle, which I've mentioned that before here, when we did our progressive rock, top 30 progressive rock songs show.
Yeah.
And I did the same when we did the Twitter thing that these gentlemen, Ken and Jim, hosted on Twitter. So yeah, it's not a scary drum solo. It's actually good. It works well in the context of the song. So don't let that run you off, folks. Rose-Colored Lenses is just a perfect little pop song. Deception and Crossfire make the midsection of the album. They are, again, more 7-8 minute mid-length songs with progressive elements. Anything I Can Dream is just another short song. It's look around, I wonder how I got to be polite and dying. I think back when I was 10 and life could be anything I can dream. Yeah, it's very melancholy, nostalgic lyric there.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, every album they've put out is well worth hearing. They're probably my favorite 21st century band, even though technically their first album came out in '99. Close enough for me. So, in fact, they just put one out recently within the last few weeks. I haven't heard it yet, but it's on my very soon to-do list. So yeah, 2005 is My River Flows.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Bill, you're coming up with these ones that are just completely a green field to me. This will be another one for me to listen to. Yeah.
I could have really gone deep in the first, say, 15 years of the 21st century. I left a lot of stuff off, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good choice. I remember you mentioning that album before on another show we did. All right, over to Ken.
All right, I'm jumping to December 7th, 1993. This gentleman, it's his 4th solo album, and people may not recognize his name, but they would probably recognize the band that he used to be in, Haircut 100. Gentleman's name is Nick Hayward. He was the guitarist, lead vocalist, and primary songwriter for Haircut 100 from back in the late 80s. This is so Beatlesque, as we've spoken about some of the other artists too. 12 songs, very it's got wonderful hooks, He surrounds himself by a whole list of different musicians. He doesn't necessarily use the same musicians on every song, which brings a lot of strength to the recording. And he actually produced him himself, which I think is very impressive. Since I love this album so much. Another album where you recognize the sound in his vocals and his guitar work. However, the songs are very different from one another. But they're again, like the Beatles, they're infectious. Um, uh, I don't really know how to, explain it without starting. Okay, here's track one, and then play for you.
Yeah.
But it's a very happy album. Very happy album. A lot of songs, some of the songs are love songs. Um, Several of them aren't. There's a couple of songs that's like have absolutely no idea what the lyrics mean. Um, just like like the Beatles, "I Am the Walrus," huh? Um, but very infectious, just really, really good pop. Um, and again, it's a happy album for me. It's one that I could just put on and just relax and tap my toe. And uh, one of the kind of albums that if you're not feeling a little bit in a funk, this might break you out of your funk. So the album's name is From Monday to Sunday by Nick Hayward. Didn't even chart in the US. This is another one of those albums that before I bought it, I saw it in the $1.99 cutout bin in the record store. There again, at the time, I thought, oh, if it's $1.99, it can't be very good. Wrong. I look at those cutout bins entirely different now. I always search those to see something if I can find some gold. Um, but Nick Hayward from Monday to Sunday, 1993.
Definitely got me stumped on that one. All I remember from Haircut 100 is the obvious Love Plus One, which I've always enjoyed. But
Yeah.
cool. You got me on the Beatles idea though, so I'm always
Yeah.
drawn in by that.
Oh yeah. And he's done a lot of Beatles covers. I've never read anywhere or watched an interview where he specifically talked about the Beatles, but you can see the influence both in his songs and whenever he's, done Beatle covers, just absolutely perfect. One of the few musicians I'd really like to sit and have a hot beverage with. So, yeah.
Good choice. And just one quick question to the panel. Why, for me, it just crossed my mind. Why is it that there are bands that have obvious influences from bands that have come before or even present bands? Why is it that some bands are praised for their influences and other bands, like the one I'm about to mention, are blasted for their influences? Like they're looked down upon. I don't understand that. It's like, but I'll get to that in a sec. My choice for day 27. We are going to August 19th, August 19th, 1997 for the third release of this band's album, Transmission from the Tea Party. At this point, they had left Chrysalis Records in the US and the UK. They had signed a deal with Atlantic Records in the US, major deal. 11 tracks. All the albums up to this point, from this point on, were produced by Jeff Martin. He's a lead singer and guitarist, multi-instrumentalist. He'd always produced their albums along with Ed Stacy and for The Edges of Twilight. This album basically goes into a dark territory in terms of the compositions. They keep on with the use of Middle Eastern influences in their music, but they also touch upon industrial, but not overly so. The lead-off single and track, Temptation, which 2 minutes and 45 seconds of just blistering rock with, it starts off with an acoustic guitar intro, and then it goes into drum loops that they use, and then the Jeff Burrows comes in with just an amazing performance on drums and heavy use of keyboards and guitar on this, talking about all forms of temptation and how to resist temptation. Then it segues into the track Army Ants. Oh my God. Every track on this album is sublime. After Army Ants comes the third single, Cycle Pump. Oh my God. The lead-off lyric goes like this. You wanted this, so sad to see the sweet decay of ecstasy. Just amazing. Heavy as all get out. Next up is the track Gyroscope, which is about just a 2-minute, 50-second track. A lot of layered, textured pieces on here, just beautiful in terms of the instrumentation. Very heavy drum sound, bombastic as all get out. Next up is Alarm, which again continues in that vein in terms of layered guitars and just dense production. Release starts is the end of side one, and this track is very, very poignant. The proceeds from this single, it was a single that was released. The proceeds were donated to the White Ribbon Campaign, where the White Ribbon is a campaign organization in Toronto that basically supports stopping violence against women. And he's saying in this track that I'm no good for you. You need to leave. I need to set you free. You think you're happy in this, but I know I'm being more destructive to you than helping you. And I'm no good for you. You have to go. Next up is a title track. And here we go into Marrakesh. Okay. We're transported. A lot of use of tape effects and Arabic instrumentation, very heavy drumming. Jeff Burrows on the drums, he just has a heavy hand on the drums, just a very bombastic drum sound. Next up is the one track, another single, Babylon, which touches on the industrial part, industrial elements, but again, not heavily so. Not heavily so. The video that was shot for this was shot at a warehouse in Toronto at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was done all in one, like the camera, the video was done in all one shot. It's one continual pan shot that's done. And it's interesting to see how they were able to pull this off, right? It's just various experiments going on people in this huge warehouse and different rooms and different sections, and it's very good, very interesting. Then it goes into Pulse. Again, another huge rock bombastic track, a lot of intricate guitar work, which to me is just wonderful. Emerald comes next, and it's one of my favorite tracks on the album. And it basically is saying about someone who is basically into drug use at this point, and just saying, you don't need to do that in order to feel that you're validated or that you're a person or that to get yourself through the day. You can weather whatever storm that you're in or what you're going through, and you will be okay. Just know that whatever people say about you or to you, you will be okay. It does not matter what people think of you. Again, just brilliant, brilliant. Aftermath is the final track on the album, and the title does not describe what is on the track. Very quiet piece of music, very sort of introspective piece of music. And basically, the subject matter is whatever went on the tracks previous, there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel in terms of whatever it is you're going through in your life. There is hope. There is someone out there to help you, or a guidance to get you through whatever dark storms you're going through internally. And it's just a brilliant album. This, when this came out, I don't know if this still happens. I don't see it in Canada anymore. But do you remember back in the day when they used to advertise new album releases in ads, like in commercials? You know, new album coming out on this day, whatever. This was the last album that I remember being advertised on TV, saying, "Oh, the new album from the Tea Party coming out," and I could not wait to get this album in my fat little fingers and just listen to it. I had just moved out on my own, June 26th of 1997 of that year, and this album got me through a lot of questioning myself, like trying to get my own routine going, living on my own for the first time. It took me a long time, like a good 6 months, to weather whatever internal storm I was going through. And this album got me through a lot of dark days, thinking that I was basically alone, you know, out there. And I know my neighbors hated me playing this album because it was loud. Okay. And someone said to me once, "Oh, you played this album?" Yeah, they knew you were there. They knew you were home, especially in the apartment on the left and right of you. I said, "No, yeah, tell me about it." But no, this album for me, top to bottom, is just perfection. It's just amazing. So that's my pick for day 27th, Transmission from the Tea Party. So no comments, no
Excuse me.
clips.
Do you like the Tea Party?
They're all right. They're okay. They'll get me.
Seems it.
through. You know, people have said most of the music sounds the same. You know what? It's their opinion. It is what it is. And these are one of those bands, or they just want to be like Led Zeppelin. They want to be like, you know what? These are one of the few bands that actually they toured with Plant and Page back for the tour when they were walking through Clarkston, right? And they were one of the, when they opened there's a story of when they opened the show, they did their set, and you've got Jimmy Page watching from one side and Robert Plant standing on the other side drinking, sipping his tea before he goes on, and he's looking at them and he's nodding. He's actually going, "Okay, all right." And Plant is famous for saying groups like the Cult and Whitesnake and whatever, saying they could never be they wanted to be Zeppelin, but they could never be us because they're not that good. This is one of the few bands that he actually said, "Okay, I understand it. You're good. You've got what it takes. Like, you're not a flash in the pan." But anyways, that's just my opinion. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Day 27 of our 31 perfect albums. Forgive my running off at the mouth. I tend to do that when it comes to this band. Anyways, please put down below in the comments your choices for what you feel is a perfect album. No right or wrong answers. Again, just opinion and point of view. All right. So for Jim, Bill, and Ken, I am Armando, signing off for day 27. We will see you soon with day 28 of 31 perfect albums. Okay. Please look after yourselves and one another. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.